Hey everyone, I'm Melissa from Knitting the Stash, and this is...
Spencer, also from Knitting the Stash.
And from Meta Spencer. This is episode 157 of the cast. It has been a little while. I've been traveling...
How long has it been?
At least a month.
A month?
You know, work. You know, like your day job gets in the way of like having fun. Doing the stuff you know.
I don't let that happen to me.
Anyway, some of us have more of a day job. So we're back. We're back in the yarn room.
Have you still been knitting?
I've been knitting up a storm because everybody in the world wanted sweaters. So we are ending the end. We're nearing the end of February, so it's almost the end of sweater season. But I'm like one sweater away from everyone having a sweater, except for Zach. Zach didn't get a sweater, but he's
had one already. Everyone being the immediate family.
Yeah. So Spencer getting a sweater.
And actually kind of extended.
Yeah, the last episode was about Aaron's sweater.
Yeah.
Then we're going to do this one about your sweater, and your sweater is the same as Phineas's sweater. So it's just a sweater-a-thon around here, basically. Yeah, so I was traveling, and I was knitting, and finished his sweater. We'll talk about that today. And I've been just knitting Musselburgh hats like crazy. There's actually a third one that's not even here that I gave to my dad. I talked about that on the last episode.
Are you still selling yarn and stuff? Still
selling yarn over on knittingthestash.com. Go hit it up. Find some good indie, local. It's not local. It's more like indie.
Small batch
yarn. There's good stuff over there. People who like name their sheep.
Like if they're making the yarn, the sheep aren't like 3 continents away.
They like know their sheep.
They know.
And they're awesome.
Sheep.
And a lot of them have names and they're really cute. And we have pictures of them and they're just adorable. And that's where yarn should come from. Mostly. Okay, anyway.
Pretty much.
That's knittingthestash.com. There's also classes over there, online classes for modifying your sweaters, which is what we mostly do on here, designing, things like that.
So can we talk about my sweater challenge?
We can, but we need to first thank the podcast producers because it's been a month.
Oh,
this is the February thank you.
Do it up.
So here's the February thank you to the podcast producers. That's Erika, Jennifer, Lenore, Nargis, Kendra, and Rose. Thank you for helping produce the produce the podcast.
Nice.
That's the way you say it. We appreciate it. If you want to get in on that, you can go over to Patreon, and there's a bunch of different, tiers and whatnot. And you can also just buy me a coffee if you want to, or you can just watch the podcast and leave a comment. That's really awesome.
That's production of kind.
Yeah, it's nice to have all of you here and see all of you. And if you're new, welcome. It's going to be a wild ride today because we're just doing Spencer's sweater. So there you go.
Okay, here's the story from my perspective.
Okay.
As I remember it from the sweater. Okay. So Melissa said, "Yo, do you need a sweater?" And I was like, well, I wouldn't say need, because...
This is going to be interesting, because my perspective is totally different.
Okay. What I remember was like, hey, offered me a sweater? Did I say I need a sweater?
No, you never do.
All right. Anyway.
Yeah.
I thought I would throw down a challenge for Melissa, which was, can you knit me a sweater that is a clone of my favorite radial sweatshirt? This thing.
And he was like, can you make the neck look like this?
Yeah.
And I was like...
Well, I'll just cut the sweater. Oh
God.
So anyway, I've got my favorite old sweatshirt. It's like a...
It actually doesn't smell like gasoline.
I washed it.
Oil and everything else today. So it's like you get the clean version of the sweatshirt.
It's like the best sweatshirt ever. And here's the sweater that she knitted me. She busted out the simple gray, totally plain sweater.
Some people like charcoal. What can I say?
It doesn't have the cut yet. I'll just snip it there or whatever. But
it's really...
The only thing that I saw that was like a little bit bells and whistles, just because you couldn't help yourself or whatever, is it's got this little...
Up here.
Yeah. Just like a little, some kind of like, the increases went this way and that way kind of a thing.
It's not a feature. It's just produced by the way the increases are done. We'll talk about it. But it does produce this really cool looking, almost like... What, like Air Force or something?
Yeah,
like a little like epaulets. Yeah.
Yeah, a little thing going on. But otherwise, totally straight up, normal, gray sweatshirt, it doesn't have a lot of, like, stripes and lines and...
Fits your armpits.
Doodads and stuff. Yeah, we got the armpit fit.
Yup.
So, it was a clone of the commonplace, everyday, totally normal sweater.
Yeah, we did
It's been good. Been wearing it all the time. It's not too hot. Sometimes she'll knit you a sweater... And you put it on, and
the one with all the
beads
cables.
of sweat are just pouring down, and
yeah, but those are good for like he'll wear those outside under the trucks or like working on the tractor or whatever.
Yeah.
So. But this is very.
It's like more of everyday.
Straight up. Yeah. So.
Was it a piece of cake?
It's a really simple sweater. This is the Northland Sweater by Petite Knit. Yeah, Petite Knit. I always want to say knits. Petite Knit. She does a lot of really basic like wardrobe staples, mostly women's sweaters. So this is one of the few men's sweaters that she has in her design portfolio.
It could go both ways, right?
Absolutely.
Unisex?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like a very plain sweater, like just simple construction, but smart. Like very smart construction, because all of this ends up looking like it's been seamed. Like it has these armholes that look like, I'm gonna grab you and rub you around.
Yeah, no, I know how this goes.
But it has these armholes
like
that make it look like it's a set-in sleeve almost.
Oh, okay.
So the way that she does her increases here along the body, increase the front and the back without increasing the shoulders, which is why you have this strip of stitches here. And then once you get to this point, you start increasing for the shoulders. So you get like a compound raglan, but it's not even just a compound raglan. There's like other shaping.
If you could write that down for me, if anyone ever asked me, so where'd you get the sweater? I'd be like, oh, it's compound raglan. It's got like shaping on the stuff. And
yeah, she's just a smart designer.
When you started, instead of doing the usual, like do the collar and then just go down, instead you started with like a horseshoe, like over the neck, and then kicked in the back and forth around the ground.
Yeah, I mean, this is Phineas's version back here. I'm not sure how well you can see it, but it starts with the horseshoe.
Doing like part 2 in a different color.
Yeah, it starts with this horseshoe basically here, and you don't join the neck, which is right here, until you've worked all these different... You're not working short rows, but you're just working back and forth on this part, which is basically...
So it does the same work of a short row.
It does the same work of a short row.
Raising up that back.
So you're not actually casting on these front stitches until you have a lot of fabric down toward the front of the sweater. Now, I think it could still be higher, because she calls for, I think, 1.5 inches of ribbing.
Neck or whatever.
And I did that originally. We put it on, and you didn't like it was a little too high.
I had to bring it down.
So we brought it down to about
I did that thing where you say, like, oh, this is so great, I love it. And you kind of,
Yeah, you just stand there doing this.
And he's like, do you want to lower that? Oh, no, it's fine.
Yeah. Tugging on the sleeve, no.
So she brought that down.
So we brought that down. And I do think... that's why I think with Phineas's I will do the 1/2 inch, but I wish I had remembered to just make this a little bit lower, to extend the kind of horseshoe a little bit longer.
Fine.
But I think it's fine, and proportionally, it's fine, because this is half. Your cuffs are like a 1 inch, and then the hem at the bottom is a 1 inch.
You mean like a rag doll?
I do, because you're not on the you are my mannequin.
I'm not on the mannequin. Anyway, it ended up being a great clone of the of the sweatshirt.
And it's a good this yarn I've used before for your it was the Natasha
Where'd it come
Hornsby.
from?
It's the New Zealand yarn. We love the New Zealand.
Oh, you've been
yarn.
buying a lot of that New Zealand stuff.
I love the New Zealand yarn.
You should try it out.
It's great, and the shipping is like the yarn is like cheap, and so the shipping, even though it's like, I think I get batches. It's like $30 to get it sent from New Zealand. They air pack it, like they vacuum pack it. They suck all the air out of it, and so you get this yarn in like a sweater's worth of yarn, like a box that's this big.
It's good stuff.
And it's really great yarn. This is like the 8-ply. Where's my bag? Well, I've got this is.
It's 8-ply.
It's 8-ply.
Yeah, that's great.
You get to. It's the 8-ply DK weight.
If I pulled this apart, I'd see 8 strands.
Well, it's not quite 8. It's more like...
They just call it 8.
It's really weird. 2. It's weird because when I go to spit splice it, there are 3 strands, but I think the 3 strands actually have...
They each have...
more. Yeah, it's a little hard to tell. It's more of like a woolly yarn. It's like
almost a little felted together or something.
Yeah, I'd say it's like a semi-woolen...
It's a good solid wool yarn.
But it's very lightweight, so for Spencer it's great because I can knit in a wider gauge than I normally would.
So much.
So a gauge like this, I'm going to do something weird here, but you're just going to live with it. I wouldn't normally knit in a gauge like this because it's like, it's pretty loose. But with this yarn, because it's got that woolen,
I feel like it's got more spring to it than the other.
It's got a lot of spring and it blooms really beautifully. So once you wash it, sorry, I did bad things to your sweater.
Did you wash it?
I did wash it, and it's really soft.
Did it bloom?
And it blooms, so it fills in any of the gaps.
Oh. Okay.
So it's a really great yarn. But it's very lightweight. Like the weight of this sweater is like,
yeah.
It's not heavy to put on, even though it's it's like a big men's sweater. So
I'm gonna take it off because I'm getting really hot right now.
Okay, go for it. So he's got a t-shirt on because our house is heated by wood and it's very hot. We don't have a
warm,
thermostat control. So maybe you can hold it up a little bit. So just in front of you so we can see. So you can see.
That's fine.
Not in front of you like
Whatever.
No, like this so we can see.
Oh, fake wear.
Yeah.
Man,
So you
like
can
paper
see.
dolls.
Yeah, you are the man paper
Paper
man
dolls.
doll.
Oh, that's
man
all
doll.
good.
But you can see how deep the difference is between the back neck and then the front. It does have quite a few inches, probably about 3 inches. Like I said, I would go for a 1/4 and pull it down a little bit further. But I do like the...
I wouldn't do that.
Well, if you wanted to have
you
a
just
full...
cut it. Can I do that? Cut it and burn it?
If you want to do whatever you...
Does it burn?
No, wool doesn't burn.
Wax.
You can steek it and then we can reinforce it.
Maybe I'll cut it and just put some hot glue on it. Well, I don't know. It's cool. Anyway, it's a great sweater. It's fine. It's very good.
It's like soft and light, and yeah, I think you like it.
Yeah.
And it didn't even do a split hem on it. And I didn't do any kind of shaping on the body. It's just straight up.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Like the sweatshirt.
Yeah. So now I'm knitting Phineas, his version, and I wanted, it's funny because Spencer asked for his, well, I proposed a sweater for Spencer before we heard from the kids that they wanted sweaters. So I needed to find a sweater that both Phineas and Spencer could wear because I don't know
pretty much the
Phineas's
same size.
Sizing, and he's pretty close to Spencer. So
Pretty
once
close.
I test ran the sweater with Spencer's measurements, then I can... Phineas, I gave Phineas a little bit more ease, just because he's like Mr. Air Force. Does a lot of push-ups.
He's
a lot of push-ups.
He has upper body strength.
Not that you don't.
No, he actually.
But
does.
he's got a little more of the like Air Force. So you get a little more ease in that one, and they go fast. That's the other thing about the Northland sweater is it's. I mean, I'm working out of gauge. You're supposed to do it in I think she holds 2 yarns together for more of a sport weight. So I'm my gauge is a little bit off, but that makes it go really fast because that yarn, I mean, I think I can do a sleeve in like a day and a half. So it's, the sweaters just kind of crank out pretty fast. So
how's your other knitting going?
It's good. I did swatch for the Albina sweater that I mentioned last time, the 6x2, also in the New Zealand yarn. So yeah.
But she's also been mass producing these hats.
I know. So this is the one that I made last time. I showed y'all. This is my
These are the
Yep.
Tubo hats, kind of shaped like a football.
Could have been called the Tubo hat. And it's Musselburgh by Ysolda Teague, and I've just been using not all. I mean, I've gone through 3 skeins so far, but I'm going to keep doing it.
Sock yarn?
Yeah, my sock yarn, my superwash yarn, with all the different variegations and everything. They just make really pretty hats. And
awesome.
This is the adult medium.
You can wear them with the brim brimmed out.
And this is the adult. I don't even know what. I started out with like an extra large because Spencer's head is very large.
Thanks.
But then
everybody.
I did.
Or you can wear it.
I did reduce back almost to the same number of stitches I have on this hat. But if you try to put this hat on, let's just see what happens.
I don't think it's too small.
Okay.
I think it's kind of stretchy.
Oh, if you open it all the way up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of perfect.
I think I reduced down to
like
this
that.
number of stitches at
Good.
about this point. It's one of the things about this hat that's a little tricky is that you don't do a gauge swatch. You just take your gauge as you're knitting before you wash it or anything.
That sounds good.
And it's great.
Save time.
But with superwash yarn, it does potentially grow a little bit as you wear it or if you wash it. So my gauge for the adult extra large, I thought I needed to go bigger because he tried this hat on and it seemed too small.
Now it feels good.
But now
must have stretched a little bit.
So I'm gonna.
They're really warm because of double layer.
And he got
If you live in Alaska,
he got a little extra because with the sizing, since I had this at a larger size at the top, I ended up not or using up the entire skein of yarn basically. So the other side is like I started here and went all this way, ran out of yarn, and then he requested a little something for the for the.
As I recall, you gave me some options.
You chose like a bright hot pink, which I didn't want to open the skein.
It looks great.
So then I found this one that.
Oh, I chose a different one?
Yeah, you picked like a bright pink.
Well, if you're gonna put some flair up there, you gotta do it.
But I like this one. So you can wear it either way. That's one of the cool
hat.
things about this hat. My friend Beth is making one now too, and she was asking like, does it just one skein or 2? And it kind of depends how big your hat is.
This was like 1.2 or something.
Yeah, like a little tiny bit of extra stuff at the end. But it's cool because you can just mix and match. And if you have scraps, you could do stripes. And everybody knows this because Musselburgh is very popular and it's a really good hat.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So cute.
I really love this hat. It's very warm.
I think Melissa looks 10 years younger the minute she puts a hat on.
Really?
Yeah, just like
we need one of those. Aren't there like apps for that where you hold your face up to the phone and it's like, how old are you?
How old are you?
We should do one without a hat and one with a hat.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, but I'm gonna do another one for you.
How's your sweater wearing? Is it going pretty good?
This is Snedronigan. This is Isabel Kramer. This is the birthday sweater. Spencer got me the yarn for this. It is like the softest sweater.
That was the most stressful purchase ever.
Yeah,
trying
but
to find the right yarn.
I
click
do it
on
again because it's so good.
Some European thing.
And then if you'll remember, I can't remember which episode it was, but I talked about, and there's actually another video up about how I changed the colors here. So I integrated some more colors into the yoke because the yoke is supposed to just be two-tone. And I took a gradient set of gradients and some other colors. And
the gray gradients out and the purple.
Purple, and anyway. But I wore this for the first time since I wasn't in the hothouse when I was in Illinois for a couple of weeks. And it is as soft as you might imagine. Incredibly soft because it is mohair held with a... I want to say it's like a merino. I can't remember what you got. I think it was like a merino with a mohair. And the trouble is that it's got a little bit of pilly.
So that's just after a week of wearing it?
On and off for a couple of weeks.
2 weeks of wearing it.
But that's a lot of pilling.
You gotta hold it up to see.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it.
So that's because the mohair is just too fuzz?
Well, you get pilling usually if you have short staple length fibers, so merino. It wants to work its way out. If it's like usually the softer fibers, the finer fibers want to work their way out. So I need to glean this sweater and see if it kind of stops. Because with some sweaters, I feel like it'll start pilling.
So it's only where it wears, right? Like
it's like under the arms.
Armpits.
Yeah, it's not out here so much.
If you're rubbing your back on a wall.
Yeah, like when I get all bare and I need to just scratch my back.
It's all filled out.
But yeah, I want to glean it and see if it comes back.
Yeah, there's a little bit on your sides.
Yeah.
Too much of this kind of walking.
Yeah.
You know?
You know me.
You gotta walk.
Yeah, less military.
You just gotta change your movement.
Anyway.
So it's starting to pill. So you gotta use your
gleaner.
The little electric thing?
Scrape it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't use the electric one. I use just I have a couple attachments for
manual.
I think it's actually right here. Hang on a second. Okay, we're back. Here's the gleaner. It's just called Gleaner. But this is the one I use, and it's not electric or anything like that. It's just
this thing.
It has like a defuzzer, and then it has different. You want to hold it for a second?
It's almost like a razor or something.
But it's not sharp to the touch. So.
Because it's covered by this stuff.
Yeah, so there are different blades you can use. This is the one it's the kind of toughest. This one's a little lighter weight, and this is the fine. It's like sandpaper. This is the finest, and that's the roughest.
That's a nice little tool.
Yeah, and you can kind of just pop the...
Two wheels.
Yeah, you can pop the different blades on there, and then you just run it over your sweater. And I like it better than the mechanical one because I feel like it does a little less damage to the
mechanical one, you put it on there, and it's just kind of ruthless. Like, whatever's sticking out gets buzzed off.
It's just a little scary. But this one, you can really control it. You can kind of hold the tension and kind of just work your way. Yeah. So I'll try it and see if it comes back, if the fuzzies come back.
It might just be a pilly sweater.
It might, but it's so... Even you can feel how soft it is, and he can't feel anything soft. Try it.
Oh, yeah. It does have a soft feeling to it.
There you go. Wow.
Sort of.
Okay. So that's what I've been knitting. It's good. We're like halfway through the next sweater. And what I've been doing otherwise is working on the book, which is... I've got 3 chapters finished. I'm on the 4th chapter, which I'm driving Spencer crazy about because it's the lanolin chapter. And
this is mildly.
I've been doing some archival research. So for those of you who are not familiar with the Botany Woolen Mills, it's the Botany Worsted Mills, actually, of New Jersey.
The most obscure publication.
So this is one of the weirdest things I've found so far, and I thought I'd share with you all. So, and Spencer actually looked through some of these issues and was like, what is this?
They were pretty weird.
So
interesting.
I have it in plastic because it smells a little bit like mildew. So I was trying not to get mildew on everything. They're from the 1940s and 50s, and the Botany Worsted Mills in New Jersey. It was in New Jersey. It shut down in... Thank you, Millie. So the Botany Woolen Mills Botany Worsted Mills are in New Jersey, and they shut down in 1955, and they've actually been turned into apartments at this point. You can go on Google and check them out. It's pretty interesting. But back in the day, the Botany Worsted Mill started in I want to say it was the 19th century. And, so it was around for quite a while. And they were like an organization or a company that straddled the river, as you can imagine. All you environmentalists just cringe now, right? Because it's bad news. So they straddled the river, they put a lot of waste in the river. But they were a kind of fully integrated mill. So they did all of the scouring in-house, they milled the yarn in-house, and they had lanolin. They had laboratories, and so one of the things they were working on was lanolin. So I was curious, I'm trying to find out as much as I can about them, and one of the things I happened to find was the fact that they have an employee newsletter that came out. And so I was like, we don't really have those anymore. There's not really like an employee newsletter where
through a workplace.
Where and so I started, when I got these, I started looking through them, and it was like lots of babies, marriages.
Just updates from each department, and there are a lot of departments. It's like a huge mill.
Yeah. And so
stories about the war.
But there's some stories about the war, and then there are like little tidbits about the production process. Like sometimes they'll be like, oh, there was an article in here where we were looking at one of the columns, and it was about, days since our last accident, like the safety column or whatever. And there's like a president's report, and then there's tons of ads for, Botany fabrics. So like on the back, this is one of the things they produce was they, produce their own woven fabrics, ties and material for suits and things like that. So they did the whole thing. But it's been interesting. I have a whole stack of these. They smell really terrible, but I'm getting through them, and they're just weird to read. They have dinner parties. They have, I don't know, it's a very strange publication.
Softball teams.
They have a chorus. They have...
It's sort of that you get the feeling like the mill served all purposes for the employees, like not just to work. It was like recreation and pastimes.
Yeah, it reminded me of like when we went to visit Alcatraz, or when we went to or we didn't go to Oak Ridge, Tennessee, but reading about Oak Ridge, Tennessee, where they were doing all the uranium refining for the bomb. Similar things, like in both places, they had schools, they had places where they had bowling leagues. It's just like this sense of like it's a company town almost, and I think. Passaic, New Jersey was kind of like that, a little bit of a company town, because this mill was one of the few places to work. Anyway, that is your random historical update from the Annals of Book Writing Research. If anybody knows anything about lanolin, I'd love to know it. So you can always email me at knittingthestash.com. If you're a scientist who works on lanolin, I would love to talk to you. And if you know anything historically about lanolin, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to go back to it and keep reading the mildewy magazines and going through a lot of bothering the librarians at University of Illinois about getting issues of journals from like the sewage waste journal or whatever. It's a little bit of a...
Sounds tasty.
A little bit of a niche. Anyway. I think we might have lost Spencer a little bit on that last segment, which means I might have lost a few of you. So,
just listening to the lanolin story again.
Yeah, again. Poor guy. He's been dealing with all the chapters. He's been listening to you call it the book podcast.
Yeah.
Every day. I give you the update.
I like to know what's going on.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll have more book for you all soon. Eventually, maybe. We'll see. But yeah, I think that's probably where we're going to end today. And...
Thanks for having me on the cast. Thanks for the sweater. It's better than the sweatshirt.
That's good to hear. We're happy about that. All right. Well, we'll see you in a couple of weeks then. Thanks for hanging out with us.